Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news now, folks. You've probably heard the latest buzz swirling around the NFL and especially concerning the Atlanta Falcons. It's something that could really shake up the entire division and potentially the conference. And no, it's not just rumors or idle speculation. We're talking about Kirk Cousins, a name that's been in the headlines, but for all the wrong reasons lately, and it's fascinating to see how his situation is evolving in the league. You see, even with all the injuries that have hit starting quarterbacks across the NFL this season, there's been surprisingly little talk about teams trying to acquire Kirk Cousins from the Falcons. That's strange, right? You'd think with the state of quarterback injuries and the need for experienced signal callers, Cousins would be a hot commodity. Well, the truth is, there's a pretty brutal reason why no team has stepped forward with an offer yet, and that reason is tied to his contract and what the Falcons are willing, or rather, unwilling, to do. You see, the Falcons aren't just looking to trade Cousins for a draft pick or a conditional future pick that could be attractive. No, they're holding firm on one key point. Unless a team is willing to take on the remaining 3 years of his 4-year, $180 million contract, they're not even listening. And that's a huge sticking point for any NFL team. Let's be honest, a contract worth $180 million, with 3 years still left on it, is a steep price tag, especially for a quarterback that some in the league are starting to question in terms of effectiveness. That's the core issue right now. The fact that the Falcons are so adamant about not just giving Cousins away or taking a lesser deal makes it clear that they see him as a valuable asset, if only they can find the right trade partner willing to shoulder that financial burden. But it's not just about the money. There's a deeper narrative here, and it involves perceptions around Kirk Cousins' recent performance. According to some reports, and this is where it gets really interesting, there are folks around the league who actually believe that Cousins might no longer be an effective NFL quarterback. Yeah, you heard that right. It's not just about money or team fit. There are whispers that some believe his best days are behind him. James Palmer from The Athletic even mentioned this on the Scoop City podcast, saying that there are people in the league who think Kirk Cousins is essentially done, that he might not be the answer for teams looking for a reliable starter. Now, I want to clarify that this isn't a universal opinion. There are certainly teams still interested in his experience and skills, but the skepticism is there, and it's real. It's enough to make any team think twice before taking on that hefty contract, especially given recent performances. And speaking of performances, last season was a bit of a roller coaster for Cousins. He was still recovering from that torn Achilles he suffered the year before, which kept him out for a significant chunk of time. When he finally returned, he started 14 games for the Falcons, and the results were a mixed bag. On one hand, he showed flashes of his former self, but on the other, he struggled with consistency. In those 14 games, he threw a total of 16 interceptions, leading the league in that category. That's not the kind of stat line that teams are eager to see in a franchise quarterback, especially when you consider the importance of ball security in winning football games. Despite his efforts, the Falcons finished with a 7-7 record under his leadership, which is respectable but not exactly inspiring. And ultimately, he was benched for Michael Penix Jr., a move that sent shockwaves through the locker room and the fan base alike. Cousins was openly critical of the Falcons after that move, especially because he was caught off guard by how quickly Penix was inserted into the starting lineup. It's no secret that he's eager for a change of scenery, to find a team where he can be the undisputed leader of the offense. But the Falcons, for their part, are in a tough spot. They're not just going to hand him over without getting something substantial in return, especially considering the size of his contract. And that's why, despite the injuries around the league and the need for veteran quarterbacks, Cousins remains largely sidelined in the trade market. Teams like the Cincinnati Bengals, for example, are choosing patience, banking on Jake Browning to fill in as long as Joe Burrow is out. They're not rushing into a deal to take on a big contract for a quarterback who might not be the long-term answer, especially when they have other options to consider. This whole situation with Kirk Cousins is a perfect example of how NFL roster decisions go beyond just on-field performance. It's about contracts, perceptions, and strategic planning. The Falcons are clearly in a position where they're holding out for a deal that makes sense financially and strategically. They're not just going to give away a player of Cousins' experience unless it's a win-win situation for them. And right now, that seems unlikely, given the league's hesitations and the fact that some believe Cousins might not be at his peak anymore. Still, it's a situation worth watching because if the right deal comes along, it could reshape the division. The Falcons could get a draft pick or another player that helps them push for the playoffs again, and other teams might see a veteran presence that fits their needs. But let's also think about what this means for the Falcons' quarterback room moving forward. With Desmond Ridder still developing, adding a veteran like Cousins could have been a boost, but the contract issues and skepticism have kept that option on hold. For now, it seems the Falcons will stick with their current plan, trusting Ridder's growth while monitoring the market. Meanwhile, Cousins' future remains uncertain, and that uncertainty is what's making this story so compelling. It's a reminder of how complex NFL transactions are, and how a player's reputation, contract, and perceptions can impact their availability and value. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Atlanta Falcons news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. So, as we look ahead, the question remains, will the Falcons find a taker willing to take on all that money for Kirk Cousins? Or will they be forced to keep him on the roster, hoping that he can somehow turn things around and prove the doubters wrong? The NFL is unpredictable, and sometimes it surprises us all. Remember, the Falcons aren't just trying to patch a problem, they're trying to build a future, and that means making strategic decisions about veteran players, contracts, and the direction of the franchise. With Desmond Ridder showing promise but still needing more time to develop fully, the Falcons are in a unique position. They're watching the market closely, waiting for that perfect opportunity, and meanwhile, Cousins' situation hangs in the balance. It's also worth mentioning that the division rivals are watching this closely. The NFC South has become more competitive than ever, with teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, New Orleans Saints, and Carolina Panthers all making moves to improve their rosters. If Cousins were to find a new team, it could tip the scales in the division. But for now, the Falcons are holding firm, not rushing into anything and trying to weigh their options carefully. The NFL offseason is always full of surprises, and this situation with Kirk Cousins is just another example of how things can change rapidly in this league. One moment, he's a key player on the trade block. The next, he's still in Atlanta, waiting for the right opportunity or the right deal to come along. And for us, Falcons fans, it's a story that keeps us hooked. We've seen how the team has been building in recent years, drafting well, developing young talent, and trying to put together a squad capable of competing at the highest level. Adding a veteran like Cousins could have been part of that puzzle, but the financial reality and the perceived decline in effectiveness have complicated things. Still, the future remains bright, especially with the young core of players emerging and the coaching staff working tirelessly to mold this team into a playoff contender once again. The NFL is a game of patience and timing, and right now, the Falcons are playing the long game with Kirk Cousins. So, Falcons fans, what do you think about this situation? Do you believe Cousins still has what it takes to be a winning quarterback, or do you see the concerns around his effectiveness as valid? Would you like to see him stay with the Falcons and try to turn things around, or do you think the team should cut ties and look for other options? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion really matters. This is a story that's still unfolding, and I'll be here to keep you updated on every development. Remember, I'll be back soon with more of the latest Atlanta Falcons news, so stay tuned, stay passionate, and let's keep supporting our team no matter what. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive, Falcons fans. Your loyalty and enthusiasm make all the difference. We're in this together, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for Atlanta, Kirk Cousins, and the entire NFC South. Until next time, keep the faith, and as always, go Falcons.